What's up, everyone? Welcome to another State of the Empire episode with yours truly, Rambo Ray, coach and GM of the Dallas Empire. This was an interesting Stage 2 event. We had as you guys obviously saw, we had a crazy tie for who made it out of our pools. We ended up getting in the third, kind of like it was very similar to our pool, our Stage 1 end pool. We just won the last game, and sadly we weren't able to win our last game this time. So it put us in the third seed position where, as you can see on the board, we had to play the New York Subliners in our first match, which went extremely well. Again, a lot of our emphasis in Stage 2 on practice and focus has been on search and destroy, as you guys saw and I explained in the last videos. You kind of saw our performance in Stage 1 being very lackluster, very inconsistent, and not really kind of having a true identity as what we're trying to accomplish on the map in that mode specifically. And obviously Stage 2 was a big flip-flop, and like the first time it shows was against Subliners when we 6-0'd them on Express Search. Definitely something that we were working on, and something that teams, the Subliners are kind of like the first to kind of get it against us, to not really know what's coming based on our practice and our fundamentals to get to a good place in Search. So that's definitely a good takeaway from Stage 2. Our second match was against the Minnesota Rokkr, kind of a rematch for us since we have lost to them in our first two matchups this year. Both matches losing a control and 2 searches. And thankfully our search came to the party this time. We actually had a pretty good match. Ended up being pretty close, obviously at 3-2. We won both searches and won a respawn, which is a little flip-flop from what happened. Obviously there were close searches, but Minnesota Rokkr definitely one of the strongest search teams in the league. So definitely like a nice kind of like reassurance that what we've been doing, what we're working on is obviously putting us in the right direction in terms of search. Sadly, our respawns just kind of, and this is kind of like the case through the whole bracket, our respawns are kind of a little lackluster. We just made, I'd say you're allowed like 1 or 2 kind of big general mistakes in a hard point or a control game to stand a chance to win maps. Sadly, we made like 4 or 5 on the maps we lost, and you just can't afford to do that. Teams are just getting better every day. Like at the start of the year, we saw a very big difference in respawns for certain teams. There were teams that were just obviously blatantly not good at it, but now it's kind of getting to a point where people are learning, and we're getting through that kind of early stage of the game. It's getting more into mid to late game now, where every team kind of has a drill and understand what they need to do to win games. They just have to do it. Sadly, we're in that position. Not to say that, like, obviously we're still practicing our hard point and control games. It's not our focus when we kind of break gameplay down and watch VOD has obviously been more on search, but still, like, we had a good understanding what we needed to accomplish. We just couldn't do it when it came to matches, which is kind of frustrating on our end, since we really felt like we kind of beat ourselves more so than other teams beat us, which is our feeling. Like, obviously every team may feel certain ways, but we just made like big mistakes where we just kind of gave leads away in games, gave positioning away when you really shouldn't have, and it's just the kind of stuff you can't really do. And how competitive the CDL now is this year, especially with all the recent team changes. It's incredible how good every team is. There's like last year there was probably like 5 or 6 teams in the league that you're kind of like, when you play, like, okay, well, this theoretically we're pretty confident about winning this game. And obviously you want to be confident about winning against any team, but this year for sure has more competition. So that's obviously a big factor. Again, moving on, we went to play our little buddies at Atlanta FaZe. Sadly, again, just lackluster respawns. Our search game, again, improved. That's a huge positive for us. And to me, that was kind of like my, not a fear, but like the biggest letdown from Stage 1 was like we have 4 very smart individuals, and I would consider myself a smart coach, and we just couldn't figure out the riddle of what was going on. So the extra hours we put in Stage 2 obviously figured that out. Sadly, our respawn now kind of took a backseat, or not really a backseat in terms of like preparation, but a backseat in terms of like competition, and really kind of come into fruition when it plays. And FaZe just dismantled us in respawns, which is not something we want to see. Obviously, being good in search is extremely imperative since the finals have 4 games, but if you can't win respawns, then that puts so much pressure on your search, right? Sadly, we had to lose that. Which meant we had to wait on Sunday morning. We had to wait for the Rokkr and Toronto to play, and we had to play wearing that. Toronto had an incredible run all of Sunday. I mean, even before talking about our match, I mean, huge props to them. The Ultra getting their first win this year. I mean, they just played top notch all day. They had it from the get-go. They got on a roll and the momentum, and how the league kind of changed their formatting for Sunday definitely helped them on that end for sure. They came in hot and they did not let go, and they came through FaZe and just bulldozed through all the teams they were playing. So the final was actually a really good series, but yeah, props to Toronto for playing really well and getting that done. So we had a game plan like this. Obviously, we had time to kind of think about how we're going to prepare. Like the big thing I feel like I saw a lot of people talk about is the veto. So our preparation for Sunday was obviously preparing for the possibility A, which is playing Toronto, or possibility B, playing the Rokkr. We already had competed against the Rokkr before, and we kind of had an idea. Like I feel like both teams kind of lacklustered and played mistakes on the modes that they're better, like typically they think they're better at. So like Minnesota had rough search games, and then we had good search games, and then vice versa for respawns, at least for the hard points. So our thought process, again, when we played Rokkr was going to be, our vetoes probably weren't going to be that different, maybe a small variation, maybe on something they wanted to change, but we felt really comfortable with the maps we played, and we could win them over if we had to play them. But then obviously Toronto being on the opposite end, team we haven't played, competed against in stage 2, obviously most of our preparation came to them. So when we saw we played them, we were like, okay, this is good. Like we know what to expect. We got all the maps we were expecting. The big kind of question mark to everyone was really the fact that we let Raid Search go through and let him pick it. And they were like, what, 5-1, or they were like 5-0 in stages. They were 6-1 total, I think, and 5-0 in stage 2. So obviously a map that a team is extremely good at. People have to understand that strengths of certain teams also play into strengths of other teams. So the strengths that they had on the map, we felt were going to be weaknesses against our preparation and our play styles and what we've been kind of working on. Sadly, we just got to the game, we couldn't execute them, which is, again, a map they feel very comfortable on, and all the situational decisions they made as a team were very good. We just weren't able to react as we kind of planned, and that's just the way it goes. So people that are looking out from the outside like, oh, why would the Dallas Empire let this map go through? It's also like we have VOD, we know what to expect out of that. While if we let another map go through the pool, their second strongest map, we felt like it wasn't going to be as clear what our plan and our kind of understanding what we need to do to win the game was going to be. So there's a lot of thought process that go on. Yes, stats are one thing, and yes, it showed, and they beat us. So obviously, props to them on playing really well. But still, there's a lot of decision making that go behind it. And again, our respawn, we had so many chances to close out the control, and so many chances to close out the raid hardpoint. I mean, we were, yeah, it's rough talking about. Honestly, it's just. It's frustrating for us because we felt like we were the better. We felt like we were the better team. I'll just say it out loud. We felt like if we played our game, we would have won, and we just made mistakes that Toronto just pounced on, and Toronto was playing very hot. And yeah, it's just the way it goes. And again, props to them on playing extremely well, and bad on us to have the mistakes we did. And those are constantly progressing things that we're working on. Obviously, watching our VOD as a team, we're seeing these things we're seeing the issue with me really kind of closing on this is really the fact that some of the mistakes we're doing are repetitive, and that's really where we have to kind of come in and put our foot down and be like, this is unacceptable, we can't be doing these mistakes. But some of the new mistakes that came up are things that you fix through situations that were a little different, and how you kind of went about things weren't the right way. So that allows us to reflect and learn from these, and hopefully not do them again in the future, so that when it comes later in the season at Champs, we can just go in like we did last year and just have zero questioning about what we're trying to do on the map, and everyone's just playing the game instead of having to remind ourselves of certain things. So that was it for stage 2. I hope you guys enjoyed the matches. It was very exciting to watch and to be a part of. Sadly, our third place is not a bad thing, obviously, but yeah, we definitely have some stuff we got to hash out. Really looking forward to stage 3 and how we can get on about and hopefully prove out to you guys and to ourselves that we are definitely the best team in the game, and we can get a few wins from that point on until the end of the season, and hopefully definitely have a good chance to repeat our championship ring acquiring from last year. Hope you guys have a good one.